Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and here's another edition of the Political Minute. I'm Colin, and I'm going to try and bring you this as honestly as I can. While there's been a lot of stuff happening out there, I think purposely the presidents have played a perfect handoff with each other in making sure that we will never, ever have anything that is going to be thought of as inside information. We are not going to have anything, and we are going to be completely snowballed over. While there may be something that comes out about Canada, Mexico, other places like that, even all of it, I think we're really into a major problem very, very quickly. And people can be like, I represent people or anything else. There's a lot of bad things that can come up with a lot of stuff really quickly here. And I really do hate saying it this way, but in certain situations over my life, I've noticed that there were some people that was around before whatever happened with the LA riots. And it was about 5 or 6 years before. And then there was, let us say, the Rodney King incident, and we had the LA riots, and a lot of stuff happened. And it's kind of like there's something, and then kind of like how Freddie Gray and a bunch of others all had something happen to them. And then 4 or 5 years later, there's another incident in George Floyd. Okay. There is always something that is kind of a white situation that I think will be put on for the first time on television. And however it is, I do know that there have been people that have taken advantage of the George Floyd situation, and they have been foreign national operatives in here. And here it's like, you know how many people are at the university game because our university's won a national championship and numerous things. You know what happens down there, even if you don't want to know what happens down there. I'm 20 minutes from Oak Ridge Nuclear Laboratories. It don't matter. You're going to hear about it, and even if someone's here and it's like, my parents have been here on 4 generations, and I'm going, yeah, they know. They don't know. You're talking in front of one of the cameras for the feds here and military and whatever else it is the Secret Service don't let us know about. And they just go around there and be like, 4, yeah. And it's like, yeah, I know, born here and the doctors were stupid enough to give you a birth certificate and a social security number. You still ain't really a USA citizen because you've been here because of espionage. And I'm just like, yeah. I mean, in a way, it's like it's the stupidity of life. They love these stupid people for, whatever the Secret Service calls their tattoo money. It's just what they do. But, as we move along with this, we are going, well, there's stuff in Canada. There's a lot of white people in Canada. We really care about the vaccinations, because believe me, over here, as soon as you run into any of the World War II people, it's like, well, it's made from our DNA so that we can, all have you cloned to being Mussolini or Hitler or something. Which, as many deals as they've given the people around here with that and blanketed immunity, that it's like they've actually been able to backhand the president and the Secret Service can't do nothing. And I'm like going, yeah, not necessarily this president, but, the president that shall not be named, that we all know which president that was. As well as some other things to some other presidents. But, the blanket immunity has gone really crazy here, too much. It's gone overboard with some of the things they've gotten away with in blanketed immunity. I'm sure it's getting handled out. We're getting better at it. But, again, as they would say, let no good tragedy go to waste. And it's like, let no honorable event not let your garbage be blown in. Because no matter what, you'll be louder than them and you'll smell worse. And as they're talking quiet and eloquently, you can just come in there loud, drunk, and abusive, to say the least, and get some stuff really started. I think there's going to be something really starting big with the Ottawa, the Freedom Truckers. It's reached New Zealand and France. This stuff has reached other areas. And it's like all of a sudden, it's like on day one they had this guy with a Confederate flag and he showed up. And I've always heard that if you run the guy off, there will be hell to pay for your organizational movement. And he'll walk around with this Confederate flag and everybody's supposed to go, yeah. And just kind of like, raise your glass to him. Yes, thanks for showing up. Bye. Bye. And there'll be nothing happen. They ran him off the first day. And look at what's happened. Swastika land, everything else, all of this bullshit has came out of the woodwork. And it's like, I still do. And I know they had him on the news and they mentioned his name, that he was up there and he was a staunch Confederate flag, Confederacy person. And as soon as they mentioned his name, I was like, and you heard immediately, get out of here, we don't need you here. And I'm going, well, we can see if this thing really does happen like they say. And I mean, I've known this since middle school when people said stuff. It's like, come on, people don't go with that anymore. It's like, Colin, I've never known people to diffuse a situation like that. I mean, you can't really just show up at a school or anything for that. You got to have a real movement or something else. You can't really get away with that and do that. No, I mean, there's all sorts of like things out there, and it's like, as I was told to me, it's etiquette. Etiquette is just made up rules that you think exist in your head because you have an honorable system or mentioning of something out there. So they will just come in and steal and destroy your honor and walk away with theirs. And with it, I can say honestly, there's a lot of people that are like, we're really helping you. We're helping you so much. Nothing that they are doing is helping. In a way, this is like 3 horses. And honestly, I could say there's 5 or 10 others that are 4 horses out there somewhere. And whatever the 4th horse is that shows up in this, that decides to rear its head, there will either be a massive riot situation or a massive movement, something, even an assassination movement. This is something that I just see as it's a possibility. And once you have 3 hooked up, you just need a 4th. And it's either let all the horses run wild, or else there's someone with a chariot with the reins being held very staunchly with something in their hand. Now, you can hate me for saying that. You can even say that if it comes true, I somehow had to do with it. Because I know I'll have 15 people go down through here and go, what do you know about this? I'm going, I don't know anything, but it is nighttime out there. And there is a lot, I tell you, of light, smoke, and it's not consistent. So there's definitely a fire. Sounds like there's some explosions. Must be a couple of propane gas tanks, Oh, look, green flashes. I'm sure they're not throwing meth bombs. Honestly, officer, I'm not qualified to answer any of these. Still your fault. What are you doing over here? Making sure that you understand it's your fault. I know it's a small town, but I really want to name names at this point. I'd just say, if things were coming up like that, there would be something like that over here at my house, and I'm going, it's all the ridges. You can't. It's made. I know they say it can't be, but it is made to where you cannot see that far. If another incident was happening, I've watched them bring in the earth moving equipment in the middle of downtown Knoxville near Kingston Pike. Therefore, there could never be a rocket round shot that far again, straight. But I'm just saying, I think there is getting ready to be something that comes up. Are there some places that I think that would be very interesting if that does? And if it does come up, I guarantee you what will happen is all of these riot things, all these demonstrations, things like that, will move away. And all of a sudden, they will have something come up that is in a, not really a small town, an important town like Knoxville is. And people like, it's not important, and everybody in New York goes, bullshit. Everybody over in San Francisco goes, Confederacies and non-homosexuals. Everybody in Atlanta goes, it's not a black city. Everybody in Detroit says, it never helped us through any wars. Everybody in Philly to Boston will say, where were you in the Revolution? Oh, Confederacy. And it's like, well, we solved all the problems with East Coast, West Coast right then. And I'm just telling you, it'll be an important city. And somebody in Seattle that's really just a bunch of fur trappers that finally figured out how to wear silk will show up and go, my God, the manners of them. I've never watched NASCAR. Did you know it means I'm not racist? And it will be that no one will care about it. And it will be probably, and I do mean this in every way, it will be something that is Oriental. It will be. And if it could connect to something that is Oriental and Native American, it would be. You know, if it happens here. It may go out and somehow it spins off to like southeastern last holding of the Pacific, southwestern French island just burns itself to death and everybody on it dies. But there is something that is going to happen. There's too many things with the Holy Roman Empire that's popped up on the border, and one or two of the people are, you know, I mean, seriously, as good as you can see my face right here and go, oh God, Colin, you went bald and really let yourself go and got fat. Yeah, I looked at one of them and I go, oh my God, that's blank. He still doesn't look a day over 56. That stuff really does numbers on him, and those are two of his kids. And they were trying to sneak back into the USA. These people said it was them, and they should be charged with complete premeditated murder, manslaughter of the president after the fact and given the chair, and they would make a full confession. And that's talking about FDR. And that's why he had a stroke in the back of his head. And there's two or three other groups that all said that they were doing the same thing, and they had to triangulate when he flew over Italy in his big aluminum plane and everything else, and he was over at Morocco with all three of them, and that's what really killed Stalin's heart and what drove Winston Churchill mad. If you ever see two movies that were released in like the last 5 years, there's one that's at the very beginning, and then one has, I think that's Gary Oldman, and then there's one after when right before D-Day, and he's like a shell of a man. You know, they claim full responsibility for that. And I mean, there's just way too much stuff around here. And as much as I've tried to just put, and I'm sorry, I put YouTube on hold. I've tried to go out there and do some other stuff and get my life back together and catch up on some sleep. Believe it or not, the hair actually has came back some. And, you know, try and get my life back together. I mean, I've gotten rid of a lot of nickel poison and other stuff, but I mean, because of my writing and mercury, but the metal detector still goes off if I touch my spleen area and liver. And, you know, I'll be honest, I've felt my liver grow back after I've eaten chicken livers. And I've felt like this stuff come out of my pancreas after I got diagnosed diabetic and told the doctor I would not take medication. And it's like I've got 2 more pancreases to eat. And I've lost 10 pounds. And it really is the truth. And people can laugh at me and everything else. Say, people don't do that to you. I've sat there with the metal detector and gone over. And it's like, beep, beep. And that's that little thing they go on about that. Oh, we're just skinning you. And they run a little mercury, lead, iron ball around. You won't ever get enough iodine and magnesium at the same time to get it out. And so that's why I look so pretty. But, there's some stuff coming. And, I'm going to let this one go 15 minutes and try to have the 12-minute timer beside me and just break it up. But here, let me end this one right here. And I do mean this in the most defensive to the person way as possible, that said that she was a Holocaust survivor and that she told off Trudeau in a way. And Trudeau came back and said, you can stand with swastikas and other people and everything else. And, in a way, I'm just like, it's the Tucker Carlson conspiracy, because if you look at him, just put a dot over his nose. Tucker Carlson is now in charge of basically all conservative media. He was the mayor in charge of George Floyd's little city. He's in charge of Canada, and he's in charge of France. And I'm probably sure he's in charge of some other thing out there if you look at all of his family and just go, who's really the only conservative person you need to care about and keep happy? But after that, the grand conspiracy of crazy there, this one is what I mean in the best sense of everything. Yes, in a way, I understand you bring some cred to this, that you are a Holocaust survivor, that you have been elected, and that you are basically equal in things. In this, there is a conversation I could have that this will ban me from England and Canada. You are a Holocaust survivor from Poland under the Polish Bible and the Roman reservation that was there. You are now in England. Have you eaten caribou? As a Jew under a theocratic government, you are not allowed to eat wild game. You may even be limited on how many generations it has to be behind a fence. Is England really like that? Tribalistically, England rules. The Queen is in. Dogma and the King James Bible's out. Almost no way there ain't going to be Prince Charles or one of his sons. He's got grandsons that outrank his granddaughter. Just insane. It may have changed. There's been a lot of changes. So the granddaughter might just be, it's who's the oldest and eldest born. Just saying. Could they go that draconian or something? No. Or yes. And then here comes my other part. And I'm glad that this has gone far. I'm sure YouTube will strike me with this. And I mean this in your defense also. And I'm sure that as a person who's that political in Canada, you've had to think about a lot of things and been like, well, I always know that my body will probably be frozen in the snow somewhere. Or else, spiked on a tree like the Jews did, Varez and some of the others, and they just lived off of the sap that ran out of the pine. No offense, there's been a killing around here in the mountains for revenge for that same thing in Tauranga Forest. On that which would be a possible, nothing to do with the Polish reservation group, person, because they don't want to be affiliated with whatever. And there's a lot of things, and I was taken to a military tribunal over it because it happened on a certain thing. And let's just leave it at that. Technically, I don't remember being handed anything that says, you have to look this up, and it says Jelly of the Month Club from Department of U.S. Military Tribunals. Please be quiet about this Jelly of the Month Club certificate. We're not wanting anything official, just, something to remind me of, because, I get senile as I get older. But, in looking at all of this, and after that, it's like, your family never told you anything about Tauranga Forest or whatever. But moving right along with this into some areas. saying that there is anything that is with you and the Holocaust and government, and honestly, you do look very good. I'm not saying anything like good looking like that, but you do have a face that was made for the camera. Those are very good qualities to have in a person or something else out there. In every government, it's like this. You can go so far, and everything that you represent and everything that is of you and anything else, those are very good assets. They can be removed from you and just given to anyone out there, including any one of the swastikas, any one of the pastel flags of Mussolini. And there's a new flag out there. I'd love to be there just to try and find a flag, because I've seen 70 or 80 of them. I've been told that I've really seen over 180 all at once. And, they're all stuck in my memory, and I'll just jog it if I see it. All that can be removed from you. You can be reduced over a period of basically any amount of time to generations and bottlenecked, and your family be pushed off into whatever it is, obscurity. And those will be given over to someone who can represent that, who may actually just be like your great-grandson when you're senile or something else, and he's not really, or she's not, as a granddaughter, great-granddaughter, and will represent that totally and good enough, and all of your things will be taken and flittered off into these other families and stuff. It's not like they're going to give it back to whoever it is with the Roman Empire, where everything went back to, and they just go, well, the Pope doesn't believe in money, really, but he has tithe. And it's like, it's not the dictator who is over all the cults who just put stuff in every one of them and said, I keep this for myself. It's not like they're going to do that, maybe. They might have to do something so there's some insult to somebody in the family so they look like a fanatic or something else. But they can take your stuff, every bit of your things, and everything out there, and remove it completely, and leave you and your line with absolutely nothing, and just be like, her people will have a lineage for her. And as it is, they'll remember the good stuff and change whatever you stood for that was bad, in their viewpoint and opinion, when technically everything that you've done has already been done, and they'll make sure to tell you this, by the Creator, and was created, and He knew everything that you were going to do. You can say that's Jesus Christ or something else like that, but, since they stole it from the Old Testament, it came from there. So, I'm just telling you, there might have been some other stuff that led up to that and everything else. And as it is, they didn't let a guy walk across with the flag and be like, hey, nice to see you're still alive. Glad there's only one of you. Can't even really say that. Because they have their own media people. They have everything. And as it is, it came right up there and snared you. And you're no longer in that Polish government underneath that form of the Second Reich, and they had a change in the Reich, and will make a new reservation somewhere for people. Now, I'll end this right here. I'm sure I'll get a strike for it. In every way, I'm trying to be nice and be like, have you really thought and counted all the exits in your house? And, do have your flame retardant, whatever it is. And no offense, do not wear Kevlar because it melts to your body when fire gets on you. Try to get something else. I'm not saying Trudeau would do it. I'm not saying who would do it. Like everybody says, blame Colin. Colin saw it. Colin knew it. Colin could pattern it with his brain. Maybe he's been mercury and aluminum sulfated poisoned and some other stuff and everything else. And, he's had the worst thing in the whole world happen to him on a lot of stuff. But, I'm still here, and there's a reason why the little kids would draw me up as Wolverine and say I killed the bad guys over at my mom's elementary school. And, for the guy who died in the wreck, I don't know why they called you the bad guy. They're just elementary school kids. Anyway, Colin Dawson signing off with the Political Minute.